Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev. Your turn.
Well, I haven't heard anything, so I'm not too sure.
That's right. There was no announcement. I was looking for the announcement today to get the link, and I had to go all the way back in my chat with Manunatha Maharaj because I could not find it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, he hasn't communicated if he was going to miss anything, so I didn't. Yeah, but well, I mean, I was thinking that we could still maybe read something together. I don't know how. However, if not, then we can just we just read like from like a verse or something in a purport, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know, however everyone's feeling. I could.
Andy, how about we stay on the same chapter that we're on with like the one we covered last, maybe?
Yeah. So.
That was chapter 10?
Yeah, I believe it was chapter 10. And do you guys remember a verse that he covered that maybe we can just go over their purport?
Well, he told us that there were 4 of the most important verses in the Bhagavad-Gita were in chapter 10. I think they were number 8, number 9, number 10, and that was something like that. I have to look back.
Yeah, because, I think they were like in a row. Yeah.
Let me go grab my cup.
But I didn't write down which texts they were, and I would not like to misquote. Did anybody write down which those four texts were? If they were 8, 9, 10, 11?
I can't, I don't have the book in front of me, but I think if someone reads the translation of like 8, 9, and 10, maybe it might sprout the memory back.
Well, 8 is I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. That sounds pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Hare Krishna. So we're just gonna be reading together from. It looks like 8. We're trying to figure out the 4 um, main verses that Mananath Maharaj had quoted, had read the last week, not last week, but the week prior. But I think so, yeah, because these seem like I'm reading the ones in the line, and they seem like this
It looked like the right ones, or is it the double one that's like 12 and 13 together? No, I don't think so. I think it's the 4 before that.
Yeah.
But I did not write it down. I'm not a very good student.
Neither am I.
Yeah. But I do pay attention, but these little details, I can't remember what the word for 4 verses is. I couldn't remember. He said it several times.
Oh,
Um,
maybe I'm sure. Hold on, we just look it up. I'm sure this is like
yeah.
one thing that comes up so much.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to read from the Bhagavad-Gita, may I suggest that we just chant Jaya Radha Madhava for a minute,
Yes.
and then, should I lead it, or do you want to lead it?
Yeah, you can definitely read it. I'll go ahead and mute myself.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. That's when you could sing. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Manachari. Yamuna Tira Manachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Good, Prabhu. And now you can read. Now you can read, please.
Oh. Should we just read? Should we read through the whole entire thing, or read just like translation?
Well, the chapter is quite long. We could just try talking about reading those 4 verses and talking about them. Okay. I don't know. What do you think? Or maybe we could choose one verse.
Oh, yeah, we could read like text 8 and just see if anything comes up for us rather than going.
All right, you read Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, text 8 says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava sammanvitaha. Aham. I. Sarvasya. Of all. Prabhavaha. Source of generation.
The source of generation.
Mataha.
Mataha.
From me.
from me.
Sarvam,
Sarvam,
everything.
everything.
Pravartate,
Pavartate,
emanates.
emanates.
Iti,
Iti,
thus.
thus.
Matva,
Matva,
knowing.
knowing.
Bhajante,
Bhajante,
becomes devoted.
becomes devoted.
Mam,
Mam,
unto me.
unto me.
Buddha,
Buddha,
learned.
the learned.
Oh, I have the, okay. Bhava samanvitaha,
Bhava samanditaha,
with great attention.
with great attention.
Okay. And then we have the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Ki Jai. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Okay. Then we can read a paragraph at a time. So I can read the first paragraph, and then whoever wants to read.
What are you guys on chapter 8? You said
We're chapter 10, verse 8.
10 verse 8. Thank you.
Yeah, just let me know. Then that way I'll start reading once you're there, so you don't get lost.
You can start. I found it. Text 8, right? Yep.
Yeah, text 8. Okay, purport. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, and who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Parvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapayati Sma Krishnaha. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again it is said, Atta Purusho Ha Vai Narayano Kamayata Prajaha Srijaya Iti Upakramya. Then the Supreme Personality Narayan desired to create living entities. Again it is said, Narayanad Brahma Jayate, Narayanad Prajapatihi, Prajayate, Narayanad Indra Jayate, Narayanad Ashtau, Vasavo Jayante, Narayanad Ekadasha, Rudra Jayante, Narayanad Dvadashadityaha. From Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayan, Indra is born. From Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. And from Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. Yeah. Next person can read for the next paragraphs. Yeah.
I'll read. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Narayana Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asin na Brahma na isano napo nagni sano Neme Deyav Apriv TV Na Naksatrani Na Surya. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayana. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky, no sun. That's from the Maha Upanishad 1. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. Next, Brian?
Yeah. So in the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapatim ka rudram kapi aham eva srijami vai tau hai mamna vijanyato mama maya vimohitan. The patriarchs, Shiva and the others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said. Do you want to read the rest? Or Narayanaha Paro Devas Tasmaj Jatas Kamut Muka Tasmat Rudro Baba Deva Saka Sarva Chinyatam Gata. Narayana is the supreme personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born.
I can read the last part then. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says that because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna is in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master and from Vedic literature, who engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness, becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad-Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Okay.
So, what do we get out of that?
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like it's just a lot of it is pointing, is like pulling evidence pointing to how Krishna is like the supreme and how there's nothing above Krishna, and just pulling from. Um, I always like how Prabhupada really would do that. How he would like cite, I don't know, and how he would cite different Puranas and cite like all these different literatures that come from like all over the place, and they're all like pointing to the same thing, which is just sort of like adding more. Um, what's the word? Legitimacy. Yeah, like adding more legitimacy to the text that he's giving the explanation on.
Andy, can you reread the part where he says only fools consider that part?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Can you reread that?
Yeah. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what I find interesting about this verse is that, we all come to Krishna from different places, and along the way, we've gone through all kinds of experiences. And basically, what he's saying here is that, you may have thought that Shiva was great when you were meditating on Shiva, or you may have thought, that Brahma was, the creator of all existence. But in reality, they are all subordinate to Krishna. This is where he just comes right out and says it. They're all subordinate to me. And so maybe that's why this is so important, because so many of us need to be convinced that, it's not about, staying home and meditating or whatever. It's about our Krishna consciousness, our devotional service. And, so maybe that's why it's so important.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's really well said. I feel that reminds me of the question that Cassandra had like a few weeks back when she was talking about how, like, coming from a Western background, we don't really have a whole lot of context when it comes to like demigods and Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So they're, for at least I know for me, they're still kind of just like names and like these abstract sort of people that I don't see as like authorities quite yet. So still like seeing their names, I don't, it doesn't help like kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it doesn't really, I don't feel like that kind of like power, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what the proper word would be, but yeah.
Yeah. No demigods for you. Straight to Krishna. No demigods along the way.
Maybe not this life. Maybe in another.
Yeah. Well, there were a few demigods for me along the way.
Oh, really?
Well, sure. And that's what I'm saying here. He's convincing us, no, it's not about all of those other practices. No, it's about getting here eventually. I'm the source of everything, the spiritual and the material. So whatever you were thinking before or worshiping before, or whatever, your religious practices were before, or whatever, it's irrelevant, except that it's brought you here to me, because I am the creator of all of that. All of the paths lead to the same place, they say sometimes, and maybe the same place as Krishna. So.
You know what? I totally agree with that. For some reason, like whenever like once I got introduced to Krishna consciousness, I kind of like wanted to see what the demigod, what the other mantras. I wanted to see what the Rudrakshakanam was, right? Or like the other mantras, right? The Ganesh's mantra, stuff like that. And in the end, I don't want to say I got bored of listening to it, but like it wasn't the same as chanting like the Maha Mantra over and over again, right? Like you hear like the Rudrakshakanam a million times, but like it wasn't the same as listening to like the Maha Mantra like a billion times. Like like I don't know how to explain that, but I totally agree with what you said.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, at least like from my own experience, I've never had this much like enjoyment or this much interest in like repeating a mantra over and over, like repeating the same kind of words over and over again. I can definitely relate to that. I don't, yeah. So yeah. Do you have anything
Well,
else you wanted to add, or we can maybe read the next one?
sure. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we can read text 9.
Yes.
And I can just read the translation if that's okay. We can read together.
Or we could try Ma Chita Ma Gata Prana Bodhanyanta Parasparam Kathayantas Tamam Nityam Dusyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So should I do the translation now?
Yeah.
Machita.
Machita.
Their minds fully engaged in me.
Their minds fully engaged in me.
Mat Gata Prana.
Mat Gata Prana.
Their lives devoted to me.
Their lives devoted to me.
Bodhayanta.
Bodhayanta.
Preaching.
Preaching.
Parasparam.
Parasparam.
Among themselves.
Among themselves.
Kathayanta.
Katayanta.
Talking.
Talking.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Mam.
Mam.
About me.
About me.
Nityam.
Nityam.
Perpetually.
Perpetually.
Tushyanti.
Dushyanti.
Become pleased.
Become pleased.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Ramanti.
Ramanti.
Enjoy transcendental bliss.
Enjoy transcendental bliss.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Yes, and then the translation by our Supreme Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Would you like to read, Andy?
Oh, sure. Okay. So, purport. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing Him with other devotees.
Does Brian want to read?
Are we in the preliminary stage?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which was exhibited by the Lord in abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. Innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe. Out of them, there are few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and it is sown in the heart of a living entity. And if he goes on hearing the chant, goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
The seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies, right? Fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. The spiritual sky also that plant that grows more and more until it reaches the reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process of the form of chanting and hearing goes on. The plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Garitamtra Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God, then he cannot even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord. Just as fish cannot live without water, in such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord.
Shall I finish?
Sure.
The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12, 13, 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavavam Vanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Very nice.
Very nice.
So, like, to add to the previous text and this text that we just read, like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I think the fourth canto, there's a chapter where Lord Shiva is actually like where he meets the I think the brothers. There's like four brothers, right, and they're all praying, and they're all praying in order to like be able to see Lord Shiva, right, and they basically, and then once Lord Shiva appears to them, he basically tells them that like that Lord Krishna is like the supreme, right? I think.
Okay.
Sorry if I took that out of context, but it just kind of that's what kind of like stood out to me. I guess like it just kind of like just solidifies that even Lord also saying like, hey, Lord Krishna is the ultimate, right? The end, the eternal. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, just like, I guess, like, imagining myself, like, in the shoes of one of those four brothers and praying to, like, this demigod or this personality who I'm looking at as being, like, the topmost, the supreme, like, seeing Lord Shiva as being, like, the supreme, and then I'm here praying to him, and him actually appearing and telling me, like, no, there's actually someone who should be, who you should be worshiping, like, I guess just putting myself in those shoes, that would be like, that would really solidify for me, like, whoa, then I need to change who it is that I'm worshiping and what it is that I'm practicing. So thank you, Brian, for sharing that. That was really nice.
Well, I find this verse interesting too, because it talks about having, the thoughts and the service, to be dwelling in that, to be that way, like all the time. And some people were able to come to that at a very young age. I mean, our guru, Manunatha Maharaja, he came to it at a very young age, where he just totally dropped everything and totally put himself into Krishna consciousness. But for most of us, we tend to, we go back and forth, and we delay, and we're not sure, and life goes on until finally maybe we retire. Like me, for instance, I retire from my work, and finally I say, well, there's nothing better than devotional service and and association with devotees. But for many people, it's hard to achieve that, like a balance in their life when they're so busy in their workplace and with their family, and so it's very important that all of us eventually reach this. That's but some were able to reach it at such a young age, and some of us go around in circles for years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's one of the amazing things
Yeah,
about.
I just
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, I
Cassette.
really liked what you said. I wanted to add a little bit to that. And now I've lost my train of thought. 1 second. It might come back to me. Okay, go ahead, Andy. When it comes back to me, I'll raise my hand.
I think my train got lost with yours.
Well, it's
Oh no,
so
okay, now I remember. Now I remember.
all right.
No, I was saying that I wanted to add on to your point because it's true. I think Krishna really supports those who really want to know him, who want to, sincerely render devotional service. Whereas those who just, don't care to know him and like want to pursue other things, like out of retirement, they're like, okay, now I'm just going to spend all my time fishing or traveling. Whereas he'll encourage that as well. Like he just reciprocates with you. But like when you're really sincere and you want to, actually render service, he then will like bring you the right people, the right guru, the right environment. If a devotee is sincere. So yeah, it's just wanted to add to that.
That's absolutely true. I think that's absolutely true. When you are ready, your teacher comes, the circumstances open up, and poof, time for your initiation. Right. Yeah.
So one thing that like you were I think you're very right about that, honestly. But one thing that I do remember reading from in the Srimad Bhagavatam was that whenever you are ready, Krishna will make like not all your bad karma, but will make you experience all your karma, like to cleanse you, right? Or I don't know if that's even the correct word, honestly, but like and he will make you go through like tribulations, possibly. I think that's what the word, like in order for you to be able to experience all that in one life instead of having to experience it in several lives. I don't know if someone could correct me, but and that's also, like you said, like devotional service. Once you like give yourself up to him, then you will realize that all that is just doesn't matter, right? All that you will overcome anything that you have been placed upon, right? Because all of it is like the will of Krishna, right? I don't know if y'all can correct me on that.
Well, I've heard from Chaitanya Charan about how in this age, like in this current age, really like the main way that people end up coming to Krishna consciousness is through like tribulations and through like distress. That's what I've heard, where that's really like the main cause for people to even start to even become like inspired to search for some kind of higher truth. And I know like Dhananjaya has also said that as you're like progressing on the path, then the tests sort of progress with you. And so like if you're advancing in like spiritual life, then the tests are also there to help you in a way. And so that would also mean like the tests have to be something that really challenge you. But he also says that Krishna never gives you more than what you can handle. So it's like he brings the water up to the neck or something like that, but he never like puts it all the way over your head. So that's what I've that's my
That is very good to hear. Huh?
yeah.
Well, thank you. That's very good to hear.
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Another person?
Oh no, I was uh, no.
No.
Oh. What I wanted to share was just from everything you guys were saying, is just like how it's just so interesting to see like how personal of a process this is, and how it can look like completely dedicating, devoting your life at 18 years old, or it can look like doing, or I guess going in circles, I guess how we were putting it, like going in circles for years and years until you're like, I don't, you're retired from work, and then that's when it's like more, it's like more focused in on like just the Krishna conscious process. So, but it's just I don't know. For me, I guess it's like as long as just getting there, really, right? It's just getting to that point where you're really committing yourself, and however long it takes or whatever it looks like that got you there, it looks completely different for everyone because I mean, this is just, I guess, an opinion. So please, stop me. But if it's like someone could be initiated or like in the process, like they have a guru, but even Mananath Maharaj was saying like don't get initiated too early because say someone who's initiated too early, they're in the movement, I guess, and they're in it for years and years, and it's not like the most positive experience. It's possible that it could not be the most positive experience, and then for another person who say they took like a long time to get initiated or be part of the movement, and they were just sort of finding their way, and after years and years they finally take initiation, and for them it's like a maybe a smoother ride, or I don't know how else to phrase it, but it's really, I guess, just whatever we need. And yeah.
Yeah, that was very beautifully said. Thank you, honestly.
Yes.
Because like I guess I'm in that boat where like I have a family. It's a little bit hard to do to associate with devotees every day. But that was beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like because I mean we're in the same boat too. We don't have three kids, but I feel like even with the one, it's like a challenge.
I had four.
For
Yeah.
Four, that's right, four.
But they're grown now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess like what I mean to say is even with like when you have these like sort of big responsibilities like you have, Brian, and you're still trying, it's like it makes me I always kind of go back to like the Ramayana and how every single one of the animals was building the bridge, and how like even the ant, like a little ant, like pulling, like just
yeah,
pushing a pebble, like Lord Ram, he was seeing that and glorifying that because it's like all to our own capacity. So even if the service or our sadhana just looks like chanting a round or two in the morning because of all our responsibilities or everything, like Krishna sees that, and it's like completely magnified for him because it's about like the effort you can put in your situation, really, and that looks totally different for everyone. But I guess we can
yeah,
kind of get caught up and think like because there's like a swami who's able to travel the world and preach here and how and host these sorts of things, we think like, oh man, I'm not doing enough, this is really what I need to be doing. But when we sort of turn more internal, and maybe with more humility too, we sort of start recognizing that what I can offer right now is not that, but what I can offer is like chanting one round nicely before I go into work. Like that's where I'm at right now, Krishna. So please, I hope you accept that. Yeah.
so, so one thing, I have a kids book here I read to the kids sometimes. It's called Sweet Rice for Lord Vishnu, and in that book, he's meditating on Lord Vishnu, and he's thinking about because the Brahmin in the story is very poor and cannot offer Krishna what he wished he could offer, but in his mind he's like offering him like all the gold, all the best things that he could think, right? So in his dream, in his meditation, his dream, he like burns his finger and then he looks at his finger in reality and it's burned, right? And the book basically is saying that like whatever you offer to him in your mind will, is good enough for Krishna as long as you had the intention of offering it to him. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so that's why whenever I chant my japa, I was like, I try to think of that honestly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, yeah, that makes me think of like a pastime with Prabhupada, where there was one disciple who had cooked. I don't remember what she had made, but it was like it was burnt basically, and they knew it was burnt, but they're like, this is all I can offer right now, and so they're like, Prabhupada's gonna hate it. Like what are we even doing? Like feeling so embarrassed, like even offering it even offering it to Prabhupada to taste before taking it to the deities, and Prabhupada took like a spoonful, and he was just like, that's very nice. Like he just looked at them, and he was like, that tastes. He's like, that's very nice, and they just felt like so supported because it's Krishna tastes the devotion. That's really what he's like relishing when we're offering anything is the devotion that we have. Oh, and as far as this verse, there was actually something that that you were speaking on, Bhakti and Rosalind, that
Yes.
about the when we're situated in the state in that sort of stage of let's see, where we're basically like living for Krishna 24/7, just completely absorbed in that sort of place, and how, I mean, at first, I know for me, like that just sounds so far out there because it just sounds like something so far away. But but it makes me think of a talk that I was hearing with Sachinandana Swami, and how he was sharing an experience of how in the and this happens, I think, for a lot of devotees, from what it sounds like, from what I've heard, is, and I mean for me too, where there's like over enthusiasm in the early, yeah, in the early stages, and how we hear these stories of like the Goswamis, the six Goswamis, and how they're sleeping like 2 hours a day, eating like 2 grains of rice, and but they're like experiencing the highest transcendental pleasure and bliss, and they're just completely absorbed in Krishna, and so we see like these examples and try to imitate as well. And the thing that really struck me what from what he said was that um, the Goswamis, that was just like their consciousness, like their it's just like their consciousness. They didn't have to actively think of like how many hours am I going to sleep right now, or how much am I going to eat. It wasn't even like something they had to think about. It was just their state, and so it wasn't something that required any sort of extra mental uh, uh, any mental, like, I guess, uh, thinking or anything like that. It was just like the consciousness that's there, and I guess just for me, like that just sounds really like almost like unimaginable, really. Like how you can reach a point where you can't live without Krishna, even for a moment. Like a fish can't live without water, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, may I add what it says at the end, because this is very important. And speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam and how it is full of narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. So what this means to me is that, we have to give up all of our material things, but who can do that in the middle of their life? That's Some people could do it, and some people did do it, and some people have had families and they've been in Krishna consciousness the whole time. But for me, it was like, in order to be sure, and I've heard before that a guru, I'm not sure if this is Krishna, forgive me if it's not, but that you need to really ask 3 times before the guru really accepts you, because you're so apt to change your mind in the beginning. Like you said, you jump in with total enthusiasm, but then after a few months you're not chanting 16 rounds anymore. You don't have time to offer some food to some prasadam to your deities or whatever. You just start, and this can go on, and you could go back and forth many times in the life. And in my case, I've already turned down 2 opportunities to be initiated. And this is in my own, just clinging on to my material life because, I don't have time to be so fully involved in Krishna consciousness. But you know what? Now I have time to be more fully involved in Krishna consciousness. I'm so happy to be here. All I want to do, because at some point, for me, or maybe for everybody, at some point, you realize that this material world is really full of suffering. Even the things that you took pleasure in before, like your pride for all those wonderful things you did. I was a cellist in the symphony orchestra for 41 years. All this pride, you have to drop it at some point and say, you know what? This world is full of suffering. There's coronavirus. There's people who, dying from that. There's people dying from vaccines. There's people that they don't want their kids vaccinated. They don't want to go to, they lost their job. They can't go to work. They can't, this is a terrible, terrible existence. Once you get to that point, you realize, well, the only thing that brings me joy is, doing my devotional service. And I'm very, consider myself very fortunate to have been put in circumstances where I can, although I miss the physical presence of Manonatha Maharaj when he was here in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was coordinating the programs and preparing the prasadam, and I was doing that for the last few years, and but I've been involved with the Hare Krishna since 1988. I walked into the temple in Gurabo in 1988, and I'm still not initiated. But at some point, this stuff, it's in your heart. At some point, you say, it's my time. So I hope you all find your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are right. Like I'm sure my wife can also agree to this, but like we've been sick the past few days, actually last 2 weeks, and like I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been chanting, I haven't been listening to kirtans, nothing like that. I've been like physically miserable, right? But like as soon as like it was like 2 days ago, I started singing again, singing kirtans here at my house and just listening to kirtans, and I felt like my mood just like 360, just like 180 completely changed. Wow, like that was just crazy. Should have just kept chanting. Should have just kept. But like when you're like so physically miserable, it was just so hard to even think about that, right? I don't. But yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I think this is such a beautiful talk with just wonderful devotees. I think you guys are all just great, great souls. And I really think that, especially platforms like this are, that's what it's meant for, to bring association, and inspire one another and encourage one another. And, we're on the path very differently. And so it's just really nice. I just wanted to just give you guys all a virtual hug and obeisances. So you guys are all great.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm very, very like curious to know if there ever really is like that kind of, like, aha, it's time for initiation, like almost like,
Of course there is. That's the only way it will ever happen. Yeah.
because, okay, because I guess my train of thought is that, and this is from the Ninjaya too, where he was talking about like, he gave the example of uh, Prabhupada, basically like taking a little bit more like responsibility in Krishna consciousness, and like that could look like anything really, but just taking on like a little bit more responsibility, and and he brought up the example of like the early days when Prabhupada was like initiating these super young men into like sannyas, and so it's not as if I feel like there was no sort of like flash of like you're ready to take sannyas, but out of I mean that's speculation, so I'm not sure, but it just seems it just seems
Well, I'm sure that those young devotees had their reasons too for leaving their material life behind and feeling that attraction towards Prabhupada,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Hmm. I guess what I was wanting to get at was just like the readiness for it. I guess my where I'm at right now is thinking like, does the readiness for like initiation or the readiness for taking on some more responsibility, does it come after you've already sort of like accepted it, or is there sort of like an acceptance of it, and or is it like a parallel sort of thing? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think you need to work it at the same time. I mean, you are studying towards it, you're becoming more and more involved, and that makes you fertile ground for the aha moment when you really are ready. But you do have to do the preparations, you do have to have an end result, but then the moment will happen. But you need to take your prep, you need to know that I think I want to go in that direction, so I will study more and I will move in that direction, and then if you're lucky enough, your spiritual master, your guru appears, and you request initiation and he agrees. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this topic, and I wanted to add something to this. I'm just speaking on this topic. It's making me kind of look within myself, and I'm seeing more that a lot of it has to do with pride for me. Whereas, like, I feel that I'm doing okay in Krishna consciousness. I'm learning, I'm reading, and the need for a guru, I guess, isn't really like alarming for me, because the humility isn't there. The fact of like, well, are you really learning? Or who's instructing you? And so, but for some reason it's and it reminds me, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of Dhritarashtra, when he quits home and Vidura goes to visit, because that's his brother. And Dhritarashtra, he's a king. He lives in a palace. He has everything, so much opulence. And Vidura, who's a Brahmin, who went on pilgrimage, he comes back to his brother to save him. And Dhritarashtra had to relinquish his pride in order to actually take on self-realization. And I'm thinking in my head, you guys just reminded me of that pastime, of that story, because I'm thinking, gosh, I'm Dhritarashtra. I'm feeling like the king. I'm, and Vidura, who's the Brahmin, who's trying to instruct me and tell me, this life is suffering, and you need a guide. And it's not penetrating, because I feel that, oh, well, I'm comfortable and I'm learning. I don't know if it's just if it's Maya, or if it's just it's obviously the pride to make me think like I'm moving forward, but maybe I'm not really moving forward. And that's a scary thought for me, because it says all over in the scriptures that you have to have a spiritual master in order for the message to actually penetrate the heart, for it to actually go through. Like, you can't, this knowledge isn't just, received just through reading Prabhupada's book. It actually has to be given from the parampara system. So I think for that just makes me really meditate on that more. But it also makes me, this conversation just really highlighted the pride and how much it's like really necessary to relinquish that pride. And so hopefully I can continue getting more inspiration from you guys and the classes to really focus and look at that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? Like what you described was literally, I think, maybe how I feel as well, but maybe like in a different way. Because like what you said like that, I totally like, how do you say it? I totally like just connected with that, right? Because I feel the same way. Like, I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to be taught. I like to teach myself. So like, reading every single time that you need a spiritual guide, and I'm like, well, why? Right? I'm reading these books. I teach myself everything. Why do I? Right? But I think it just comes down to what you said, pride. Honestly, like, and once you relinquish that, like, I totally agree.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, this is where the value of devotional service comes in. It helps us to drop our pride, to realize that there's something more important than what we eat or when we ate or something like that. That to make a meal and prepare it for Krishna, and then afterwards to eat the prasad, the Mahaprasad. This teaches you, this teaches you humility. You must wait. There are others that are, it's more important. It's more important to do this service. It's more important for me to clean the temple room, even than to clean my house. But, I'm ashamed of that. But it's this, a devotional service is very good tool for helping us to get our pride under control. And dropping the ego, a lot of us have tried to practice that through the Mahabodhi type of, meditation and that kind of thing. But as Krishna said as it says in the Bhagavad-Gita, in the first text that we read, we have to go beyond that. So.
Yeah, thank you. It just encourages and inspires the attitude of devotional service more, because you see your faults, you see what's going on, what's preventing you from really experiencing these qualities. And so you just, okay, I'm ready for japa tomorrow. I'm ready for, it just helps you kind of motivate yourself.
So may I ask a question about the organization of the group? Andy, are you the person in charge of communicating directly with Mananatha Maharaj, and who is it that makes the announcements with the link, and does he do that himself, or does one of you do that, or I have another group. I'm in another group, and they have somebody in charge of making the announcement every week. And, it says what the topic of the class is and what the link is. And, someone here is doing that.
Yeah, that's usually Cassandra who's posting the link.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Because I didn't get the link this time, but if you need any more additional information, contact information about me, I would be pleased to join you all in WhatsApp or whatever. I could put my name or my phone number in the text message, and you could add me to any chats that you have.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And I think it's because of the way this group kind of started. Initially, it was just going to be for San Antonio. But the thing is that a lot of San Antonio devotees just weren't interested. a few of them, I mean, we have like Brian and a few of them do show up, but it's not on a consistent basis. So Maharaj just said that maybe we just have it as a national, as in open Bhagavad Gita class, maybe not specifically to San Antonio. But the thing is that I have only access to admin access to the groups that are San Antonio based. So I send the information and flyers out through Facebook every week and through the WhatsApp group. But I can add you to the WhatsApp group. It's just gonna say San Antonio devotees. But again, it doesn't really particularly pertain to San Antonio. I think it's really just an open Bhagavad Gita class for everyone. So we can do that. And what you can do is send your
I just
phone
sent
number.
you my phone number in the written part of this. If you want to copy it down, there's a place to write. Yeah, there's a place to chat. I just put my name and phone number there. So Perfect. Please add me to the group, because you see, even though I'm in Puerto Rico, I was the only person dealing with Manunatha Maharaj in English. He, chose, since I'm originally from Philadelphia. You see, I'm an English speaker. I've just been 41 years in Puerto Rico playing the cello in the Puerto Rico Symphony, which I just retired from that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So I'm sure that's why he invited me to this group, because this is an English group. And I also attend the Spanish group on Saturday night. Yeah. And now he's not here anymore. This is the only contact. So I try to be here, and I try to put all of my pride aside, and I try to do what Gurudev expects of me. Because most of us, what we're suffering from is fear. We suffer from the fear that we will be asked to do something that we don't agree with or don't want to do. Aren't we all afraid of that? I mean, that's a rejection between Guru and you, if you don't want to do. But, Manunatha Maharaj is very, very sensitive to each individual's needs and each individual's capabilities. And as Andy said earlier, we are never expected to do anything that we are not ready to do. So I just suggest that y'all drop your fear and put a little tilak now and then, because Maharaj loves that, and study, and I'll be here. I'll be here at class with you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Rosalind. We really feel encouraged by you attending. We can always count on your attendance, and which we absolutely love. So we like seeing consistent members coming in, and I think you're right about really making Maharaj feel respected, and by just putting on tilak, or just making it more known, I think is really nice, because he does give us a lot of his time, and it just those little things can really make him inspire him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually saw that he had messaged me on WhatsApp earlier this morning, just asking if we were still having a class, but I never saw the notification, and I never thought to check.
Well, he thinks that there's not enough interest. We must prove to him that we have enough interest. You get out of this Zoom class and text him immediately. You didn't answer him? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. I know you've had a very busy day, but he, even in the other class, sometimes he's very disappointed that so few people sign in. And last week they put the wrong link number, and I put the link in Zoom and I couldn't get in, and there were a whole bunch of people who couldn't get in. He's like, why am I even doing this class if there's nobody here to attend it, just one person or two people, so yes, it's very important that we maintain a close communication with him and be sure that the classes are advertised, at least among ourselves, if not for a greater public. Make sure that all of us have the information and that Maharaj has been confirmed that next week's class is the chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, and that there's a, some kind of note that says that. And I was doing that here for a while, but now Narayan does that. Do you know Bhakta Narayan? Yeah, he does Maharaj's. Do you follow on Facebook, Manunatha Maharaj?
I'm
Because
in
you
the WhatsApp, and I think I've seen his name pop up when he's.
Yes, he does beautiful announcements with pictures and words and even too much. Beautiful. But sometimes he gets the number wrong, and last week it caused a problem.
Yeah.
So let's hear it for better communication. Let's hear it, Jai.
Yeah. Can y'all add me to the WhatsApp group? I don't have any social media, so.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely add you too.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, this was definitely a good. This was very sweet. I really appreciate everyone being here. This was really amazing. I didn't know how well it would go, but it's also a really good takeaway of just being more, I guess, responsible and more humbling myself to reach out and confirm with Maharaj every week and take the time to actually advertise, just like Bhakti Narayan is on his page, because I can actually comment as well, and so we can just doing the same thing that he's doing as well on his page or WhatsApp, I should say. Yeah. Okay. It's 8:14, so I think this would be a good time to end.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you all attending, and I'm very happy that we all there in the nectar and our own experiences and put our own sweetness to the discussion. So I'm very happy I was here, and we continued on with the call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Yes.
This to everyone here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
thank you for your association.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.